Let's talk about that kid who comes home from school and then completely falls apart because this is one of the most confusing things for parents. So you hear from school, maybe sometimes, maybe you don't hear from them at all. But when you do, they're like, oh, they were okay all day. I don't know why they're falling apart at home. And then they get in the car or they walk through your door and suddenly you see attitude and yelling or maybe crying at the drop of a hat, refusing anything, slamming their door, and even melting down over a seemingly small request. And as the parent, it can feel like, wait, what the hell just happened? How can they hold it together for everyone else all day long, but then I get the worst of it? And honestly, I want you to look at this through a different lens, okay? Just a different perspective for a second. Because honestly, it's not always a behavior problem. Probably 8 or 9 times out of 10, it isn't. A lot of the times, it's really just a nervous system crash. And your kid may have spent the entire day managing noise and lights and transitions and social pressure, directions. Oh my gosh, we can go on and on and on. Expectations, lunchroom chaos. What else can there be? Recess, if they have recess. The teachers, different teachers. They could be masking. They could really be holding it all in, just trying not to get into trouble. And then what happens? They come home. And home is the place where their nervous system, their subconscious can finally let it go because they feel safe. Now, I know it doesn't make things okay, and it doesn't make things easier. And I'm not saying, oh, they just melted down, so just let everything happen. Well, no, because what is that training their brain and body to do? Continue to do it because that's what it thinks it should as protection. So what I'm really saying is, let's not misread what's happening. Let's respond in a way that will not make things worse, because if we see it as disrespect and defiance and manipulation, like other people are telling me or you, then we usually come in a little stronger, right? And it's a little harder. So what do? We may correct them. We may try to lecture, ask questions, maybe ask for an apology. We try to get them to talk or answer our questions, or jump in and try to fix everything and make it easier and better for them immediately. And that can be like, okay, standing in front of a wave with your hands out saying, no, we're not doing this today. But what happens? Well, that wave, it's going to keep on coming and it's going to crash. And when you try to stop a wave by just standing there, what happens? Do you actually slow it down or stop it? No, it's not going to stop. It knocks you down. It rolls you under the water. And now, honestly, like the wave, the situation with your kid, like everybody's under the water. And that's what happens in a lot of homes after school or after a bunch of activities take place. The kid comes in like a wave, and the parent, already tired, already overwhelmed from the day, because you're human too. We try to help, support, fix it. But what if the goal is not to stop the wave? Okay, listen to this. What if the goal is to learn how to ride it into the shore? Because those waves are going to come. You can't stop them. Some days they're small. Some days they're huge, right? That you could actually surf them in. Some days your child can handle a bit more. You don't always know when that's going to happen, even for yourself. So some days they honestly just can't handle one little thing more. And if we learn how to read the wave and ride it instead of fight it, we will actually respond differently. We'll respond instead of react. So when your kid comes home already dysregulated, the first goal is not a lesson or to even try to stop it. It's not going to be a consequence. It's not going to be the conversation that helps. The first goal is just lowering the intensity, okay? It may have to work its way out on its own for a few minutes. It might mean just us as parents saying fewer words. It might mean giving them a little space, staying close by, but giving them space. It might mean just, hey, interrupt it by giving them some food or water or something. It might mean no demands at all for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. Okay. It might mean giving them that space, that time to decompress before even talking about homework or chores or what may be happening the rest of the day. And that's not giving in, that's not giving up. It's just letting their nervous system have a little bit of time. Because when the nervous system is flooded, their thinking brain, the part of their brain that actually can hear you and rationalize, is kind of offline. It's still there, but it's offline. So if you're trying to reason with the kid and their brain and body is already in survival mode, nothing's going to get in anyway, and they're not going to be able to access it. So what are you doing? Adding more waves. And this is where we, as parents, have to become the thermostat instead of that thermometer we're always being. So think about a thermometer. It just reacts to temperature around the room, right? Is that kind of what we do? You know, our kid escalates and then we escalate. Our kid snaps at us and we snap, or at least our nervous system, heightens. The kid gets loud and we get louder. And, listen, we've all done it. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your kid. It's just normal. But a thermostat, on the other hand, it helps set that temperature. It doesn't mean you're calm every second. It doesn't mean you push things aside and forget or pretend they're not happening. And it really doesn't mean that you never get triggered. You're human. It means you just start noticing and observing. Okay, the room is getting hot. My kid is overloaded. If I match this energy, we're both going down. That's all. It's, observing it. So then instead of jumping into correction mode, then you're able to pause. You are able to soften your voice and your nervous system is matching that. You lower demands intentionally, not as a reaction. You say less. You give their nervous system a chance to come back online, which actually will help yours as well. And honestly, that may sound like this. Say this to them. Hey, I can see you. I can see that maybe today was a lot. So you don't have to talk right now at all. Or maybe something like, hey, let's just get a snack first. We can talk about this later. We can figure it out later. Or, you know what? I'm actually going to give you some space here and I'll just be here when you're ready. Are you kind of understanding where we're going with this? You could even say, like, if they say, you hate me, whatever they say, you're mad at me, you can say, I'm not mad. I can see your body is actually just having a hard time right now. So now, does that mean there are no boundaries? That's not what I'm saying at all. Boundaries still really matter. Safety still really matters. Respect still matters. But I want you to remember that, timing really matters too. All of those things can take place. All of those things can be learned and respected, but at the right time. Because a kid in the middle of a nervous system crash is not in the best place to learn any kind of lesson or remember what they already know. So later, when they're calmer, that's when you can come back and say, okay, let's talk about what happened yesterday or this morning or today, because I know you were overwhelmed and we still have to work on what to do when your body feels that big and when that kind of feeling and emotion comes on so fast. Okay, that's totally different than trying to force the lesson in the middle of the storm. It's not going to work. Or in the middle of that wave crashing. So if your kid falls apart after school, I want you to try looking at it this way. Okay, they may not be giving you the worst of themselves. Okay, and this is hard to hear. They may be giving you just what is left after the world got the best of them all day. They were holding it together. And so that doesn't mean you ignore it. No, because you're still the parent. You're teaching them, you're guiding them, you're supporting them. It just means that you understand this a little differently, because when you understand what is actually happening underneath that behavior, you stop fighting the wave and you stop getting knocked under the water and having such a difficult time getting up. So then you're like under the water with your kid. And what do? You start learning how to ride that wave. That's the part. That is where things begin to change. Not because your kid suddenly never melts down, or you, but because you're no longer reacting to every wave like it is a personal attack. That's what it feels like. So you're starting to read it. You're reading their reaction, and then you start responding to their reaction. So you, over time, are becoming the steady point in the room, and that's teaching their nervous system what it's like to be safe. And, because for our kids whose nervous system is really overwhelmed, that steadiness really matters even more than we realize. And this does take some time, and it's not an overnight fix. So if you want a little bit more information, check out in my description. My book can help you understand what's underneath the nervous system. And also, I have a podcast, Unapologetically Mom, which I get a little more raw into this. And reach out with any questions or comments.